Hello and welcome. It's so nice to see you joined me. In this lesson, we'll be looking at how to create piano keyboards in Canva for music teachers. This lesson is from the course Creating Music with Canva. I will leave a link in the description box below. We're going to create piano keyboards in Canva for music teachers in this order: simple keyboard, keyboard with color, multi-octave keyboard, and finally, a fancy keyboard. If we haven't met before, I'm Monty Monique. I'm a multi-passionate certified K-12 music teacher. My first passion is providing music printables and resources for music creatives just like you, and my second passion is helping music teachers easily transition to teaching group piano lessons online. Don't forget to snag your free 100-day practice challenge. I'll leave a link below in the description box. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss a lesson. So if you're ready, let's get started. Working a little bit backwards. I want to show you first the end result, and then it will give you a bigger picture of how we're going to create the 4 different types of keyboards. So there we have the 4 different types of keyboards. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the blank page that I have down here. So the first thing that you'll want to do is click over on Elements, and you can type in square. And what comes up with square are these top options that we're going to be using. So we're going to click on the square that has an outline with rounded edges, just like that. Obviously, it's not the right color for a keyboard, but we're going to fix that in short order. So here you have the first key, and let's make that a little bit smaller. And then all we're going to do is Command D for duplicate, and we're going to line that right up. Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need one more. Okay, so now we have our 8 basic key structure. And all I did was I just grouped that to size it down a little bit so we can get a clearer picture. So now we have our 8 keys. Now, obviously, these are not the correct color unless you have a super fancy keyboard. Let's go in and change the color on these. We're going to go into our color palette and we're going to click Document Colors, change all at the very bottom, all from purple to black. So now we have our basic keys. The next thing we need to do is add in the black keys. So we're going to go back to the same square, rounded edges, but this time it is not hollow. It's going to be filled in. Again, it's the wrong color. It doesn't matter because it's an easy fix. We're just going to go in like this, and we're going to make obviously the key a little bit smaller, go in like that. Okay, so now we can start to plug and play. Obviously that is way too big. That looks about right. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Okay, so if we're happy with the size for our accidentals, for the black keys, we're good to go. So all we're gonna do now is we're going to change this color to black, and we're going to highlight this key, and we're going to click Command D. So we have our next key. Our next key goes right there, F sharp and G. The next key goes in, and the next key, and then we're good. So now we have our first very simple keyboard. Now I'm going to actually highlight all of this, and I'm going to group it because it makes it easier just to pull it up to the top of the screen. Now let's go back and let's look and see what our first example looked like to make sure that we are on point. So we have sample number 1. So there we go. The only difference is on this one I didn't add an end. I didn't add the C sharp, but doesn't make a big difference. So there we go. That is the number 1 type of keyboard. The second type of keyboard now, this works really well if you are working with students that are totally new to the piano. Oftentimes students learn really well, especially if you're teaching online, with syncing color to different keys on the piano, the keyboard. So what we'll do first is we're going to go in and we are going to copy and paste this. So we're going to copy, Command D, like that. And there is one change I want to make. I actually do want to add, I want to ungroup this, and I do want to add one more key at the end, because when we make our larger keyboard, this is going to be important. important, I think. Well, let's leave it absent for the moment. But anyway, okay, so back to where we are. So how to highlight the different keys. So the first thing we have to do is we need to ungroup this, because obviously we don't want to highlight every key. So in my teaching practice, I have specific key colors that go with certain finger numbers. So for an example, I'm going to go into background color. I already have my MoveOverMozart color palette. So let's say I want a student to play the C major triad with fingers 1. So I'm going to click on the 1 here, and I'm going to change this key to purple. I want them to use their third finger on E, so I'm going to go in and change this to a yellow. And then I want them to play the 5, the 5th of the triad, with the blue color, so I'm going to highlight that key and change that to blue. Okay, so now we have a second type of keyboard. I'm going to go in and I'm going to just group this together, just because it makes it easier when you want to move things around. So see, as an example, when I tried to move the first one up, everything shifted, and we don't want that. So we're going to move this up here. This is grouped. We're going to move that up there. So let's go back to our sample. So now we have 1 and 2. Actually, this one is missing the red. So let's go back at purple. Let's go back in and highlight that. See how easy that is? This is why Canva is just so fantastic for music teachers. Now, the third sample we're going to create is a multi-octave keyboard. And this is also very simple to do. So we're going to go in here to the first non-colored key, because we want to keep it really simple. We're going to go like this. We're going to highlight it. We're going to go Command D, and we're going to drag it down. And I'll scroll down on my screen so you can see it. And then we're going to drag this out. Now we're going to have to resize this because it won't fit across the screen. So depending on how many octaves you want to make, you're going to have to adjust this a little bit. So I'm going to take this out, the C, just for now, and then I'm going to highlight the keyboard, and I'm going to click Command D for duplicate, and I'm going to add my second octave. And isn't that beautiful? Now we have almost a complete octave. We can add one more key at the end just to make it a complete octave set. There we go. Okay, so now let's go back and let's highlight this the 2 octaves, and we're going to group that together. This is excellent if you're teaching students, say, with a level 1 and they need to do an octave scale. You can copy and paste this into any of your music worksheets. You can use it if you're teaching with a mouse, iPad, anything that you need. These are just fantastic. So there we have our multi-octave keyboard, and finally the fancy keyboard. Now, don't worry, this looks a little bit more intimidating than it really is. So let's start to work on the fancy keyboard number 4. So for this keyboard, and I think I'm going to move this up a little bit because this takes a little bit more space. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to go back to our elements, and this time we're going to start with the bass. Now, what do I mean by bass? This means not the actual keys. We're going to click on a regular square, and let's just get that down in terms of size. And we're going to stretch this out like that. Now you can have any background color that you like. You can have this match. I just chose a black color because I think it looks interesting with the white keys. It's totally your choice. So anyway, so I'm going to use a black background just because I think it helps the students. It sets off the keys. So we're going to change this background to black. And we want to go here and change that to black. So now we're going to go in. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could use the open squares, but I would recommend that you use the closed colored squares. And how we're going to go about this is we're going to go into the square, and I know it's going to be, actually we don't want that one. I want the one not with the beveled edge. I want just the regular square with the rounded edges. I'm going to go in and I'm going to size this down as my keyboard. Let me zoom in here a little bit as well so you can really get a good idea of what I'm doing. So there's our first key, and we're going to do really just similar what we did before, but it's a tiny bit different because we're working with the background. So let's change this color to white, and then we're going to duplicate, 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 C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay, so we need to stretch this out a bit more, and we'll add one more key to finalize our keyboard. And let's increase the background a little bit more. Okay, it's not quite even, but that doesn't matter. All right, so let's move this to the center. Okay, great. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add in the black keys. Now, if you are lazy like me sometimes, what I would do is I would just I would ungroup this sample, I would just copy, and I would duplicate, and I would just simply drag this down here, and I would just attach this. I would duplicate. So as you can see now, we're forming our keyboard. This needs to go there. Move that over and move it like so. All right, now let's just look at our reference. So this is where it really helps, again, with the student learning. You can add one at the end of C if you like. That's optional. So now what we're going to do is we're going to remember how in this top example how we highlighted keys, just highlighted the perimeter of each key. Now we're actually going to fill in each key, and this is great for the really young students. So I'm going to fill in this key is purple, C is purple, E for the third note, we're going to make a triad. The third note is E, that's going to be yellow, and our fifth note is going to be blue. Right? So again, what I like to do is I like to group everything together because it makes it easier. You can make it bigger, you can move it around the page. So let's go back and quickly review everything we've made. So we've made this simple keyboard, black and white, with our rounded open squares. We have our keyboard with colors, and again, all you have to do is use your musical color palette to highlight the keys. We have our multi-octave keyboard, and all we've done, remember, is we've just copy and pasted and then grouped everything together. And finally, we have our fancy keyboard, which we've created from squares that have been solid colors, and we've just altered the colors to match. You can have it match your studio, you can have it match your curriculum, whatever you need. Congratulations, you have completed this lesson. Ready to take your technique to the next level? For more info, click here or copy and paste this link into your browser. Join us in the Easy Play Piano Club for weekly live lessons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson. For more music videos, subscribe to Move Over Mozart.